Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Peter Kennedy, Kennedy's Garage, Portlaw. Today we have a 2015, or actually 16 maybe, Audi A4. We have that little icon on there and we're getting a message. See if we can get this message to come up for us. About gearbox manual or something. Some kind of a message. Let me get this. I'm actually driving the car. And why am I driving the car? I'm putting it in to a lift to have a little scout to see what the heck is going on. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to try and recreate. There we go. For the crack. What I'm just looking at here. I'll give you a look at the fault codes in a second. I think it's P1890 and a P1891 are fault codes, but just in live data here for a fast little glance to try and show. I'm just looking at, should I go back? So I'm into live data in transmission control module and I have gear shift here, and then I'm looking at driving position here. Maybe I'll show selected. I'm in park, go back to reverse, it sees reverse. I go back to neutral, it sees neutral. I go back to drive, it sees drive. And then what I found when I was confirming the customer's complaint, I went over to Tiptronic, and in Tiptronic I could go through my gears once the vehicle was being moved. So what I'm actually saying is that it was working, or at least our gear position was working here up to a point when it triggered a fault, gave me that message, and then at that stage I could not operate Tiptronic while the car was actually being driven. Trouble codes. Just to give you a pointer on what we're at. That P1891 passive or sporadic, signal wire for Tiptronic, signal implausible, and then I have P1890 passive sporadic, signal wire for Tiptronic, electrical error. Okay, what are we after here? Are we going to have an issue in here? Or, I think in my mindset and or my mantra, I'm only squaring up in the middle of a lift a little bit. I wasn't too, I wouldn't say I wasn't square, but I was making myself a bit of room to get out. Okay, I'm thinking, they say that these things can fail in here quite a lot. Position sensors from dust, dirt, debris inside in there. But I think first and foremost, I'm going to go down and I'm going to have a little look in at the actual gearbox itself. That's the only actual fault I had. I didn't have any other faults to do with CAN communication or any of this stuff. It's only that in... Oh, I think I just... Yeah. Okay. On a control, on a code scan, I had no faults in anything else. So you can see the rest of my... Go back on the topology. My tree was green, but I just have these two faults happening in traction control module, okay? So I'm thinking that we're going to go after... My compressor going? Noisy here. I'm thinking I'm going to go after down to the gearbox first, have a look at the block connectors. I think they ingress water and see what's happening down there. And if not, then if it looks okay, I'd say I'll be coming back up here to see, is it a signal in here based or is it a signal at the gearbox based? We'll get in and have a look and see where we're at. Okay, apologies about the noise, but we have block connector off our transmission. Spotless clean. So I'm at that stage saying that our problem is not in here. I'm probably going to suggest that I'm going to go in and take the gear lever up above and see what happens. Okay, we know that down below looks quite good. So what I'm going to do for my own peace of mind, I'm going to actually erase or clear these faults. And without doing anything, by driving this, I want to see how fast this car sees a problem. So right now in the immediate, we have, at this stage anyway, I'm hoping, no faults. Now I have messages coming up the dash. Was that just because I'm doing code scan? Still have that message there. Sometimes, you know, the way radios turn on and stuff when you're scanning and the car running, probably should be doing it with the car turned off. So at this point in time, we have Still have the same problem here actually. Mileage wise, 122,629 miles. I'm just going to start it, run it, drive it and see what happens and how fast this comes back. There we go. Okay, so within a mile or two, I can recreate this fault while actually changing gears myself. Here, we'll pull in here and we'll do a fast scan again and just see what we come up with. Put in the side of the road. The stability control fault, every time I do a scan it gives a beep. Even with no faults in there, so I'm not concerned with that beep whatsoever. Okay. 1891 signal wire for Tiptronic, signal implausible. Diagnosed Dan TSB has about the block connectors getting fouled up with crud inside them. You can see it. I might have done a bit of homework, bit of research to try and figure out where we're going on this thing. I believe we're going into the actual gear lever, but I'm just doing a bit of homework to show you what does happen in that block connector that's good on ours. Right, I've looked on Diagnosed Dan and now I'm looking on Autodata, and 1890, 1891 transmission shift malfunction, no information. Same on the last one, on the 1891, no information either. So at this point in time, lo and behold, we're going blind. I'm thinking about going into my gear lever down here. I believe that a fault is in there, and I believe that we're going to have some kind of an issue with a little circuit board or dirt or something in there. So in there I'm going to go have a scout, see what I find. Hopefully I'll find something, and the only proof we can do right now at this stage is going to be how fast we can create it. So we have created this again within a couple of miles. Hopefully we can do the same. Once I've been in here, found something or done something, hopefully it'll stay away or it'll come back, is the only kind of guidance I can get right now. That's where I'm heading anyway, in there. I'm heading in here just to get a look and see what the heck is happening. That leather piece or pouch, we catch it and just pull, at least that bit of it comes up. And then down here on the bottom of the actual gear lever itself there, I say, you just twist that little thing clockwise. Am I gone? No. Oh, there we go. Okay. So just twist that piece and up she comes, right? Well, at least that's a good start. We're starting to get in here to see what the heck is going on. I believe, yeah, you just give, okay. You give a good tug here and then that center piece comes up. You start seeing what else we're getting snagged on. There's something holding it on the front here. I'd say I probably need to take out this little climate control piece. There's two little tabs in here. If you can get your finger actually stuck in them, no, if you can get your finger in them, I'm going to do it off camera, 2 fingers in there and pull, that should pop out, and we should take out a couple of little wires from it, the back of that piece, and then we should be able to get up the other section. That wasn't so bad. Out comes that little piece. Once that's disconnected, this frontal piece comes out handy enough. It's just that little twist up that made him stay in there. Block connector on our handbrake. I'd say that audio control has another block connector on it. Block connector on the starter button, and that's kind of it. I think it was just 3 block connectors. 1, 2, and 3. Now I don't know what we're going to find in here, but I'm going to have a look and see, can I take up or out maybe the top and stuff of this thing and see if I can find any problems in there, number 1, and then see is there any kind of cleaning we can do or something. I believe this is where we're going to have some kind of a problem and our fault, because it seems to be only when we're in Tiptronic and changing gear that it doesn't work and it says the signal is faulty. So I'm hoping that I'll take the cover off it. There's a little circuit board piece in here, I think, that runs around, and I think there's some kind of issues that happen with these things in my mindset. I don't know why I think that. I just saw a video one time. I think you'd probably, like me, watch videos on the weekend to keep your mind going and see stuff that could happen or fail on these things. Something says to me that I saw a video of something happening in here one day on one of these. So look, we're going to try and see if I can get out this piece up and just get a look in here, nosy, and see what happens. I've just taken apart. It all came apart very easy, actually. Just a couple of legs there that sat down like that. But one underneath my thumb is 2, 3, 4, and then that one is 5. That came out. This little circuit board then popped up very easy. I can see absolutely nothing wrong with this, to be honest. Don't know if they fail as of yet. Actually, there's an interesting one because I see a date, if you can see it there. Here. 29th to the 5th, 2018. So this thing has been replaced at some stage. With this being a, what is it, 2015 car. It couldn't have been made after the car was made. So if it couldn't have been made after the car was made, it had to be renewed. I think we'll, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit more homework on the side and just see if I can figure out, find, or see if there's anything amiss or strange here with this yoke. What happens is there's 2 little bits of metal in this thing. This thing travels on top of the gear lever. If anyone has the gear lever taken off, when you pull that up, it allows you to move the gear lever back, okay? Don't know if you need the ignition on for it. You do actually, because of a lock. Ignition on, put up that tab, and she'll pop back. But I'd see very little wrong anywhere. Here, I couldn't see the little bit of silt and or dirt creating any problems. So is this bit of a shot in the dark? Do you see a part number down there? You can probably see that, I don't know, but anyway, is it the whole gear lever that has to be replaced on these things? Am I shooting? Is it the parts cannon? Don't know. Anyway, going to do a bit of homework and I'll make the decision when the time comes. Foolhardy or not, I don't know, but what I am doing, and after making the decision to do, purely because they were cheap, I'm going to change the whole actual gear selector and components that are joined to it. So this actual item was relatively cheap. I could see them on eBay for around 50 odd euros. I didn't want to wait that amount of time, so I just had a little fast look, and a local breakers had them, and I paid 80 euros for this complete thing that he took off for me. So we have the gear selector that bolts on here, with the electronics stuck inside in it. I think from up the top, by the looks of it, I have 4 bolts holding this in place. From what I looked at, it looked relatively easy, and underneath I have loads of room. So I'm going to pull the parts cannon here without doing any testing or knowing that this is going to fix it. But if it's going to help ye out, I'm throwing this thing into it fast to see what kind of a way this thing works out. Is it going to do the job? I do not know. But the long and short of it is, I have it cheap, fast, easy to change. So I'm going to throw this thing in, see what happens. Rather than taking it apart, blowing in bits of air and trying to clean things that I can't see anything wrong with, I'm just going to swap it out, see where we end up. I think it's only going to be a case of 1, 2, 3 and 4 bolts according to the part I have, and this thing will nearly fall out on the ground. What I have done underneath is I've taken out 2 bolts holding a bracket on the side of the gearbox, and I put in a screwdriver then and popped up the cable, so that is off already. So when I take out these, this could nearly fall out on the ground. We'll offer up the new one, and fingers crossed. 1 empty hole. This thing really was the easiest yoke you could ever get. Look at the room, it just came out. Actually, 4 bolts sat down on the exhaust and then it just came out to one side and down. Here we are. There's the old one that popped out of place. There's the actual brackets on the top where I took out the 2 bolts out of the bracket. Wicked easy again. Okay. Screwed her in. Popped off the cable. So this thing is going back up, and hopefully it's going to go in. But it is really, really easy, lads. 4 bolts tight. Block connector on here. Block connector on the other little one that was down underneath this thing. This thing is sat back into place. 2 little legs, 2 little bolts. And now I think it's time to stick on that yoke. Another 1 or 2 block connectors underneath this for the handbrake, etc. But all fairly straightforward. And I suppose the climate control, or that center, whatever you call that yoke, okay? Center console fitted back in. time for this little piece to go in. 2 block connectors on it, climate control. Once that's in, then it's time to put back on our gear lever. I have all these bits and pieces reassembled, and what I'm hitting a little slight little curveball on is the little park button. So when you press this, it should pull up that yoke, but lo and behold, it doesn't come apart. Now, what I have seen when I'm looking at it was someone prior to me has had these little scuff marks around. I'm looking around here, I can see in there as well there's little pry marks. So maybe the top comes off this thing in order to refit it. I'm going to do a little bit of digging, but if someone is putting on this, they're probably going to hit the same problems as I am hitting. So I'll try and figure out what's going on in this for ye before ye get caught with it. Okay, pretty deadly. The top pops up off that gear lever quite easy. That actual pin in there then, I'll try and show you this. Let me go in there. The little pin in there then, that you can see moving up and down, goes through the little slot that's in there. Hopefully I can just push in this and manipulate the little pin into that hole, which will hold the button out. But the minute it's popped off, that button would have popped into place. Okay, I'm suggesting that I'm just going to push in there with a little screwdriver and hopefully it'll just go on. Okay, job done. Pressed it in here, caught the button here, pulled it out slightly, sat on my gear lever, and lo and behold, we have button back working. That thing just sits in somewhere there, relatively nice and easy, I'm going to hope and suggest. Okay, that's that bit. And then our little cover, which we had that came off, should just go bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. Okay, back together at this stage. Now we're doing a fast code scan. Before I go, we're going to have lost communication with a heap of stuff. VAG, error message from center controller, or 2 faults, 1891, P1890 are sitting in there. We electronic part and brake, all that kind of stuff. We're after creating all of these communication faults. So I'm happy enough just to erase, see where we end up. She does a bit of that beeping at times when it's running through modules. Sometimes it'll turn on a radio, turn off a radio, all that kind of stuff. I'm not at this point expecting faults to come back, because all of you will know and be well aware that in theory, you've seen it. Our fault was not a hard reoccurring fault. In the immediate, I had to do a bit of driving, and only after a bit of a drive and going through the Tiptronic was I actually getting this fault on the dash. So we're hoping that after a couple of miles, drive it home maybe tonight, and after a couple of miles will be hopefully resolved, dare I say. What would Ivan from Pine Hollow say? He would say, place your bets now. Some people would say, hey, you need to go in and start testing this thing and, you know, scope and signals and wires. And I didn't even look at a wiring diagram. It's quite complicated in there. So there's lots of, well, not lots, but, you know, a good few block connectors. And what am I going to be looking for? I suppose I would make sense of it if I kept drilling into it. But here we are. I'd probably waste a couple of hours. Have you ever been that man where you start in the morning at 9 or 9 o'clock and you blink and then you're looking at, crikey, it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and all you're doing is getting yourself knotted into circles and are not making too much sense of stuff. So here's this speed to transfer versus, yeah, testing, I suppose. Test, don't guess, they say. Well, here on this occasion, I'm guessing and not testing. Anywho, here we are. It's going in. Let's go for a few miles and I'll probably touch base with you in the morning and see what happens. Okay, guys, 2 kilometers up the road or so, on the way home, lo and behold, bing, big message on the instrument cluster, scan tool in hand, and lo and behold, what we have, 1891, 1890. Signal wear for Tiptronic, signal implausible. Tiptronic electrical error. Okay, right, we're still on the hunt anyway. That part cannon did not work. We have to start thinking outside the box now, start looking at wiring diagrams and stuff. What my problem is is I'm wondering when it's talking about Tiptronic signal, is it a signal from this gear lever to the gearbox or transmission, or what? Is it something inside in the gearbox signal that's not good, or the car is not happy with? I have to try and get my attack process clear in my head and ponder on this for a moment to see where we're going to go. What I'm choosing to do before I get out of the car, I've actually popped up that joke again. I'm choosing to create a few faults. I've often been caught with airbags and not knowing what a description would be saying. In a Renault, sometimes they would say driver side airbag squib, but it would be a passenger side problem or fault that I would have, purely because the cars would be left-hand drive in France or wherever the heck they're made. So I create problems on specific sides to see what side I'm going to attack from. So in this case, I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open circuit this yoke and just see what faults I get. Okay, I've just unplugged the wiring harness off of that. Read faults. Okay, and we see no fault codes derived from this open circuit. So is that only just a bunch of LEDs? Okay, we're not concerned with that. I'm trying to prove what is it talking about Tiptronic. Is it box or gear lever? Phase 2. The moment I unplugged that, I got that little icon and it said gearbox malfunction. Okay, you seen that here? Interesting. So we were getting the 1890 and the 1891. We've just created the 1891 by disconnecting this yoke. Do we reconnect? Clear, and then unplug the other block connector down here in underneath that ashtray or whatever you want to call it. At this point, should we? Might be an interesting one to see what happens if we erase these. Won't go away anyway. That I am sure of. Okay, so that's the message we're getting. We still have our 1890, so we have some issue, and it is signal wire for Tiptronic, so it is in around there. Am I getting caught with some crack in here still? Block connector reconnected. Raise code. Yes. Codes. Okay. What are we going to create when we disconnect this other one? In pulling at that harness there just a second ago when I was recording, I got the beep back on and I had that fault again. Okay, we're going to read codes without clearing once again. I've that thing disconnected. Okay, I'm kind of finding that to be a different array of faults for myself. So I'm seeing that, you can see it there. I'll just have to turn on the blooming blower motor mad here. Let me off this. Okay, I'm going to stick this thing back in again, purely because I'm thinking it's not derived from down there, and now is it most likely derived from up here? And this is the signal wire for Tiptronic is in around this area. Am I just barking up some tree here? Have I the same issue potentially with that gear lever as I might have had with the other one? Raise codes. I know this is a bit trigger happy on just erasing. Should get out the scope maybe and just start having a looking at wiring diagrams and seeing where we're going. Into Autodata looking for wiring diagrams, and lo and behold, we don't have it. ABS, AC, not much good to us, is it? Pico's out on here. Okay, I've pulled. What was that? Man is making heat noise. 1 sec. Okay, it's a little bit cheaper. He's walnut blasting an intake manifold there. I've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires on this. I have verified power and grounds, I've also done a little load test, just my 2 amp test light on the power and grounds. They're good. Now I have 3 wires remaining then after that, so I'm using the ground for the actual, we're suggesting the gear selector or Tiptronic or whatever the heck we're going to call this thing, and I'm back probing the actual green wire at this point in time. We have a 0 to 12 volt waveform. Well, we just get into another wire. If my eyes allow me to, or hands, or whatever the heck. Okay, that was a green wire. Okay, now I'm in, I think, a grey and a white. Another signal that looks quite good. And while I'm trying to get in here, now if I can get into the 3rd wire. Okay, I think we're going into the 3rd wire there now. Okay, the 3rd wire is that. So our time base is changing on that. It's going to be most likely, would I class that as a lean? I'm not a wise enough individual to know what the heck it is, but it's like a, looks like a LIN bus anyway, 0 to 12 volts waveform, something like that. Yeah, where do we go? Do you know what's weird? This thing is beeping because I think my door is open or something like that. If I put it into neutral, no, it's just in the park. Still beeping anyway. Okay, what I'm seeing here, I haven't been able to recreate the fault since I've taken the actual top off of that block connector. I don't know if I've pushed it in a bit further or what I've done, but I definitely haven't been able to recreate it. So everywhere along the way, when I'm starting, whatever it may be, I don't have this message coming from me right now. My signals are staying good at all points in time, or at least I'm not losing anything. I don't know, maybe I'll have to get out to the gearbox, as I said, and verify for water ingress, or should I just verify the pin fitment on these little pins? Okay, fast scan, no faults. I'm after choosing to get the Pico in and have all 4 channels running, and they're all running from the ground in there. So all 4 ground channels are into the ground, and then all signal channels are up there and running. So I'm going to get out. We have no faults, as I showed there a moment ago. I don't even know where to put this thing. As I showed a moment ago, we have no faults now, and it's not being recreated. But I'm going to drive. I'm going to leave this problem happen. And once it happens, I'm going to freeze, and I'm going to try and go back and try and see, can I find where my discrepancies are. That's my protocol right now. It's a little bit awkward because I have this thing kind of hanging out there. So to change the gears might be, you know, a little bit, once I get it into drive, we'll be away. But I'm just going to see, can I recreate this thing anyway, fast, and find what wire we're having an issue with, or where the signal is going topsy-turvy. You can see the little waveforms changing in here. No reoccurrence of my fault on my drive. It's kind of a... I'm thinking that we're looking at... I didn't see that maybe. I'm thinking that we're looking at... I saw some little bit of a change in voltage there. I'm thinking we could be looking at a pin fitment thing here, because the only thing that has changed basically is a little bit of, as I said, it took a while for the problem to reoccur once I had the little block connector taken off the yoke. But then when I have my back probing pins in place, are they putting a slight, you know, a little strain on the block connector? And is it, and or could it be, do you know, because I have a little bit of strain there, I say, with all my back probing pins sitting in there, and we have had no reoccurrence of the problem at this point in time. Sorry, taking off my seatbelt. I'm just interested. I'm seeing. See that, man? I was only nosy about that bit there. Just slight little drop or discrepancy in battery voltage there. Seems kind of funny enough there, doesn't it? Maybe not. There's frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, look there. What has happened there? Is there a bit of a kind of a weird stuff going on there? There's something kind of funny there, maybe, isn't there? Yeah, maybe. Maybe you think of nothing, but is it just, you know, as I said there, I go back, I saw it. Well, how many frames have I? 15 of them. I think we were back on quite possibly okay, 15, and I think I was back to 14. Was I when I saw that little discrepancy there? Again, it's kind of mimicking, is it? Do you know, if I brought my red down on top of the yellow, now I have load tested with a heavier power source here at this as well. Rather than the test light, I put in a 5 amp bulb, H7 bulb, and it has been looking okay. But that's maybe a little bit strange. I think I don't know. This thing is kind of catching me a little bit. I'm just after doing my bit of cleaning up here. I have got rid of my PicoScope. I have also depinned this yoke and just given a little squeeze up the actual pins inside it. I don't know if this is going to be a waste of time. It's so fiddly and dainty I didn't even try and record it, but all I done was in there, little press on the tabs, they came out, and I just gave them a squeeze of pliers, if the truth told. I used a little back probing pins then just to see what kind of drag, but I don't know whether this is going to be of any help to us whatsoever. But it's just weird because I cannot recreate it now. So have I achieved something by putting pressure on them with the back probing pins and the Pico or what? I don't know. We have them squares. I'm going to reassemble it. The last day I went to take off and go home, I didn't get 2K. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to try it again after giving them a little bit of a squeeze. Going to refit my little cover back on it, sit back in that thing, and then hit for phase 2 and see does this thing make it a couple of miles without seeing a fault in here. It monitor voltage if we need to, if my little squeeze of them pins doesn't do anything for them. Going to fit it back together, test drive, see where we're at. Eureka, guys. I'm just after doing about, maybe I drove home to my own house down around my local town, then a couple of miles again last night, back up, back down today. We have had no faults, still disassembled. So what I'm going to do, I've gone through Tiptronic for the last 3 or 4 or 5, 6 miles. I've gone through Tiptronic for the run around Carrick-on-Shore. So now I'm going to reassemble my stuff and I have to do another run. So I'm going to go in this thing again with it completely assembled, and fingers crossed we have hit with our squeeze of our pins, which is strange. But anyway, here we go. Back together again. A very bumpy by road. And over to Tiptronic. Down gear. Down a gear. gear. Up a gear. Down a gear. Gear. Down gear, down gear. No messages anyway. We'll pop her all the way back down. We're coming to a full stop. We'll just leave it take off again from where it's at. Back up as far as 5th. No message there whatsoever. I think we're done. Okay, we are doing our last scan on this thing. Sorry, looking God knows where. Just before I put it back together, send it out. I have a rear spring to put into it as well, but our gearbox issue is what I'm concerned about at this point in time. Just gonna do, I'm after doing a good few miles, you know, my own run home. Then I had another run to do after I reassembled it here, and then I had changing Tiptronic and, you know, changing gears and all that crack, which I think I recorded a slight little bit. Just going to get in, have a little fast look, see where we're at in this thing, and are we getting any transmission faults back? Wow. Okay. Where are we going? Transmission. Beep-be-doo. Happy days. Okay, right, I'm not going in here to even go looking again. I don't know what happened here. Here's what I don't know if I'm presuming or assuming or what the heck I'm actually thinking. What I'm thinking is, I saw the marks in here where this thing was after being popped apart and stuff. And could someone have been in here before me? Could we have had a transmission fault all along and someone been in back probing and maybe creating a problem in here? I think the block connector kind of came in that way. Don't know. For this one, I don't know. A little bit of a weird one. A little bit of a one with a parts cannon going off. Wasn't a very expensive parts cannon, but it was a parts cannon. Purely because of time and boom, go. And I had sealing ads doing kind of a repair thing on this, and I didn't want to do repairs on it. I just wanted to replace. So it may not have needed the gear selector itself, but maybe it did. Maybe someone was doing a few tests before me. It's coming from another garage down to me, so I don't know what happened prior. I don't know about these little finger marks, so I'm hoping and expecting that the gear selector, the Tiptronic, was gone faulty, and then that someone had sent in pins into, this is not the block connector, you know, but that style of yoke, that someone had sent in back probing pins in through there to try and see was there a drag on them or something like that. I don't know what the heck. Anyway, for this one, we are done. Yay! She's gone. About 50 miles or so done with no fault, so that's enough for me to leave it go, see where it ends up, and we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best. Don't know. Learning day for every one of us. So I don't have the right tips and hints, but what I'm doing is I'm getting caught, and my getting caught might aid or abet ye to not get caught, and hopefully avoid what goes wrong on me. Okay, that's kind of it. Anyway, lads, please like and subscribe. Talk to you all in the next cartoon. Peter Kennedy signing out. See you later, boys.